The forest was quiet in the early morning, and the air felt cold and wet with mist. Tall trees stood close together and blocked most of the light. A narrow road ran through the woods and it looked like almost nobody used it. The place felt far from the world and far from help. A dark car slowed down and stopped near a patch of broken stones and soft mud. The engine stayed on. Inside the car, Ravi sat behind the wheel and kept staring ahead. His fingers were tight on the steering wheel and his jaw looked locked. He did not look at the woman beside him for a long moment. Mira sat in the passenger seat with a small cloth bag on her lap. Her body was weak and her legs did not work well. Some days she could take a few steps with support and some days she needed help even to stand. She had learned to be patient with pain and she had learned to smile even when her heart felt tired. She turned her face toward the window and watched the trees go by, then she noticed the car had stopped. Mira looked at Ravi softly. "Why did we stop here?" she asked. Ravi did not answer at once. He took a breath like he was about to say something, then he opened his door. The sound of the door closing echoed in the quiet forest. He walked around the front of the car and opened Myra's door. His movements were fast and careful as if he wanted the moment to end quickly. "Come on," he said. "Get out for a minute. Fresh air will help." Myra's eyebrows lifted. "Here?" she asked again. Ravi nodded and reached for her arm. Mira trusted him like she always did. She placed her hands on the seat and tried to stand. Her knees shook. Ravi supported her weight and helped her step down onto the ground. The mud felt slippery and Myra's foot sank a little. Pain ran up her leg and she made a small sound, but she tried to hide it. Ravi reached into the back seat and pulled out her walking stick. He placed it in her hand. Then he picked up her cloth bag and gave it to her too. "I will be right back," he said. Mira held the stick and leaned on it. "Where are you going?" she asked. "I need to turn the car around," he replied quickly. "It is tight here. I will come back in a moment." Mira nodded slowly. She believed him because she wanted to believe him. She watched him return to the driver's seat. The engine sound grew louder. The car began to move. At first Mira thought he was doing what he said. But the car did not turn. It drove straight down the road. It moved faster. The sound of the engine became smaller and smaller until the forest swallowed it. Mira stood still like her body forgot how to move. She blinked hard and tried to understand what just happened. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She turned her head left and right, as if Ravi might appear from another side. She waited. Her fingers tightened around her walking stick. Minutes passed. No car returned. "Ravi," she called, her voice thin in the open air. The only answer was the rustle of leaves and the distant call of a bird. Myra's breathing became heavy. A slow fear rose in her chest. It was not only fear of the forest, it was fear of the truth. She had seen people leave others before. She had heard stories. But she never thought it would happen to her. Not by the man who once held her hand and promised he would always stay. She tried to take a step toward the road. Her leg refused. Her knee gave a small shake. She grabbed a nearby tree with her free hand. Her eyes filled with tears, but she forced them back. She did not want to cry yet. Crying would make her weak and she needed strength now. She looked around. The trees were thick. The road was narrow and empty. There was no house and no small shop and no sign of people. It felt like the world ended here. Mira slowly lowered herself to the ground with care. Her back rested against the tree. She placed her bag close to her chest as if it could protect her. Her hands were cold. Her thoughts were spinning fast. "Why did he do this?" she whispered. She remembered small moments from the last few months. Ravi was often silent. Ravi was often angry for no reason. He complained about money and about time and about the hard work of helping her. Mira tried to ignore the change because she hoped it was only stress. She told herself love does not vanish so easily. Now she sat in the forest, and her heart understood something her mind still refused to accept. Ravi had planned this. Mira felt her throat tighten. She tried to call him again, but the words broke before leaving her mouth. She leaned her head back against the tree, and closed her eyes. A few tears slipped down her cheeks. She wiped them quickly. She needed a plan. She opened her eyes and looked toward the road. If she could reach the road, maybe a car would pass. But the road looked empty and the forest felt endless. Mira did not know how far they were from town. She did not know if anyone would come today or tomorrow. She checked her cloth bag. There was a small water bottle, a piece of bread, and a phone. Her hand shook as she took the phone out. She pressed the power button. The screen lit up for a second, then it went dark. Battery low flashed once and disappeared. Myra's stomach dropped. She pressed again. Nothing. She held the phone in both hands. Ravi knew. He knew it would die. Mira looked at the road again and felt a wave of hopelessness. But she also felt a spark of anger. It was small, but it was real. I will not disappear here, she told herself. She took a breath and tried to stand. It took time. She used the tree and her walking stick. Her legs shook hard, but she managed to get upright. Pain burned in her joints, but she refused to sit again. She began to move one slow step at a time toward the road. Each step was hard. The mud pulled at her shoes. Her body leaned forward as she balanced carefully. She paused often to rest. Her breathing sounded loud in her ears. The forest did not help. It stayed quiet, like it was waiting. As Mira struggled, a figure stood behind a cluster of trees at a distance. A man watched her quietly. He was tall and his coat looked old and dusty. He had been walking a hidden trail that morning and noticed the car stopping. He had seen Ravi help Mira out. He had seen the strange hurry in his movements. Then he saw the car leave without her. The man did not rush in. He stayed still at first and watched to make sure it was not a misunderstanding. But the car did not return. The man's eyes narrowed. His face became serious. He looked at Mira, who was now trying to reach the road, moving with pain and stubborn courage. The man's hand tightened around a small bag he carried. He looked down the road where the car went. Then he looked back at Mira. He seemed to make a decision in his mind. Mira reached the edge of the road and stopped. She leaned on her stick and tried to look far ahead. The road curved and vanished between the trees. There was no sign of a vehicle. She listened. Nothing. Mira felt her energy dropping. Her legs were shaking harder now. She could not keep standing like this. She needed to rest. She moved to the side of the road and sat on a dry patch of ground. Her body trembled as she tried to control her breathing. She looked up at the sky through the branches. The sun was rising higher. The light was brighter now, but it did not make her feel safe. She wondered how long she could last here. She wondered if Ravi would feel guilt later. She wondered if anyone would ever know what happened to her. From the shadows, the mysterious man took a slow step forward. A twig snapped softly under his boot. Myra's head turned quickly. Her eyes widened. Fear appeared on her face because she did not know who it was. The man raised his hands slightly to show he meant no harm. He stayed at a safe distance and spoke in a calm voice. "Do not be afraid," he said. "I saw what happened." Mira stared at him, breathing fast. Her heart pounded. She did not know if she could trust him. But she also knew she had no choice to ignore help. The forest stayed still. Mira held her walking stick tightly. The mysterious man stood quietly, watching her with concern. And in that moment, Mira realized her story was not over yet. Myra's hands tightened around her walking stick as she looked at the man standing a few steps away. Her heart was still beating fast. The forest felt even quieter now, as if it was listening to their first words. The man stayed where he was. He did not move closer. His voice was steady and calm. "I do not want to scare you," he said. I was walking on the old trail when I saw the car stop. I saw him leave you here. Mira swallowed hard. Her eyes filled again, but she did not cry. She had cried enough already. She studied the man's face carefully. He looked tired but not cruel. His clothes were simple and dusty. His eyes showed concern, not curiosity. You saw everything, she asked. The man nodded slowly. Yes. I waited to see if he would come back. He did not. Mira looked away toward the road. Hearing it from someone else made the truth heavier. Her chest felt tight. Why would he do that, she whispered. The man did not answer right away. Some questions do not have easy answers. He spoke after a moment. Some people choose the easy road when life becomes hard. Mira closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, she looked smaller but stronger at the same time. My name is Mira, she said quietly. The man nodded. I am Amon. He took one small step forward and then stopped again. Are you hurt, he asked. Mira shook her head. Not hurt. Just tired. My legs do not work well. Amon noticed the way she leaned on the stick and how carefully she shifted her weight. He understood more without her saying it. Do you have food or water, he asked. Mira opened her bag and showed him the bottle and bread. Not much, she said. Amon nodded. It is something. My bag has water and fruit. We can share. He placed his bag gently on the ground and opened it slowly so she could see. He took out a bottle and an apple and placed them on a flat stone between them. Mira hesitated. Trust did not come easily now. But her body needed help. She reached for the water with shaking fingers and took a small sip. Thank you, she said. Amon sat on the ground a short distance away so he would not tower over her. He looked around the forest, checking the light and the road. This road is not used much, he said. But a truck or a bike may pass later in the day. We should not move too deep into the forest. Mira nodded. I tried to reach the road, but I cannot stand long. You did well, Amon said. You are stronger than you think. Mira gave a weak smile. She did not feel strong. She felt broken. But his words helped a little. They sat in silence for a few moments. Birds moved in the trees. Sunlight slowly warmed the ground. Amon spoke again. Is there anyone you can call? Family. Friend. Mira looked down. My phone is dead. And my family lives far away. Ravi was all I had here. She said his name without anger. Just sadness. Amon's face hardened for a brief moment. Then it softened again. We will find help, he said. I promise I will not leave you here. Those words made something shift inside Mira. She did not fully trust yet, but she felt less alone. Amon stood up slowly. I will walk a little distance and check the road. I will not go far. I will come back soon. Mira's eyes widened. Fear returned quickly. Please do not leave me, she said. Amon raised his hand gently. I will stay close. You will be able to see me. He walked a short distance down the road and looked both ways. No vehicles. He returned and sat again. Later he said, For now we wait. As time passed, Mira's body began to ache more. Sitting helped, but her legs felt heavy. Amon noticed her discomfort. We can make you more comfortable, he said. He gathered some dry leaves and placed them near the tree to create a softer place. He helped Mira shift slowly so she could rest her back better. He was careful and respectful. Mira let out a small breath of relief. You do not have to do all this, she said. Amon looked at her. Yes, I do. She looked at him with surprise. He continued quietly. Long ago someone helped my sister when others walked away. I learned that help should be given when it is needed. Mira did not ask more. She only nodded. Hours passed slowly. The sun climbed higher. A few insects buzzed around. The forest stayed calm. Then Mira heard a sound. She lifted her head. Her heart jumped. A vehicle. Aman stood up quickly and looked down the road. Dust rose in the distance. A small truck appeared around the bend. It moved slowly. Aman waved both arms high. He stepped onto the road carefully. The truck slowed and stopped. The driver leaned out. "What is it?" he asked. Aman pointed back toward Mira. "There is a woman who needs help. She cannot walk far." The driver looked concerned. He parked the truck and stepped out. Together they walked toward Mira. The driver was an older man with kind eyes. "What happened?" he asked. Mira told him briefly. Her voice shook, but she stayed clear. The driver shook his head in disbelief. "Some people forget their heart," he said. He offered to take them to the nearest town clinic. Aman agreed. With care and teamwork, they helped Mira into the truck. Aman stayed beside her. She held onto the side tightly but felt safer now. As the truck started moving, Mira looked back at the forest. The place that had scared her now felt like the place where her life turned. She looked at Aman. "Why did you stop?" she asked. Aman met her eyes. "Because leaving you would have been wrong." Mira nodded slowly. Tears rolled down her face, but these were different. They were not only pain. They carried relief and hope. The truck drove on, carrying Mira away from the forest and toward something unknown. But for the first time that day, Mira believed that unknown could be better. And somewhere far away, a man who thought he had erased his past had no idea that his choice was about to return to him in ways he could never expect. The truck moved slowly along the road as the forest faded behind them. Mira sat carefully on the seat with Aman beside her. The ride was rough and every small bump made her body tense, but she stayed quiet. She focused on breathing and holding herself steady. The driver kept glancing at her through the mirror. "We will reach the town soon," he said. "There is a small clinic near the market." Mira nodded. "Thank you," she replied softly. Aman stayed alert. He watched the road and the sky. He made sure Mira had water and reminded her to take small sips. She was tired, but her mind stayed awake. Too much had happened in one day. After some time the truck entered a small town. Shops lined the road. People walked by carrying bags and talking loudly. Life continued here like nothing had happened in the forest. The truck stopped near a simple clinic building. Aman helped Mira down carefully. Her legs felt weak again, but she managed with support. The driver wished them well and left. Inside the clinic the air smelled clean and sharp. A nurse noticed Mira right away and brought a chair. A doctor came soon after. He listened carefully as Mira explained what happened. He examined her legs and checked her heartbeat. "You are exhausted and dehydrated," he said. "You need rest and care." Mira felt relief hearing that her body was not badly damaged. She lay down on a narrow bed while the nurse brought water and medicine. Aman waited quietly near the door. He did not interfere. He only stepped in when the doctor asked questions about how long Mira had been without help. After some time the doctor said she could stay for the night. He looked at Aman. "Are you family?" he asked. Aman paused. "No," he said. "But I will stay until she is safe." The doctor nodded. "That is good." Mira rested with her eyes closed. Her body slowly relaxed. The bed felt softer than the ground and the room felt safe. For the first time since morning she slept. When Mira woke up it was evening. Light from outside painted the room orange. Aman was still there sitting on a chair reading an old newspaper. "You stayed," she said quietly. Aman looked up and smiled gently. "Yes." She felt a strange mix of comfort and embarrassment. "Thank you," she said again. The nurse returned and brought food. Mira ate slowly. Her strength returned bit by bit. Later the doctor came back. "You can leave tomorrow morning," he said. "But you should not travel alone. Is there a place you can go?" Mira thought for a moment. She remembered a cousin who lived in a nearby city. They were not close, but they were kind. I can go to my cousin, she said. Aman nodded. I can help arrange transport. The doctor approved. That night Mira slept better. In the quiet hours she thought about Ravi. She did not miss him. Instead she felt clarity. The man she loved had chosen to abandon her when she needed him most. That truth hurt, but it also freed her from doubt. Morning came with fresh air. Mira dressed slowly. Aman helped arrange a bus that could take them to the city. As they waited at the bus stand, Mira asked a question that stayed in her mind. Why were you walking in that forest, she asked. Aman looked thoughtful. I walk there often. It helps me think. My sister passed away years ago. Walking keeps my mind calm. Mira nodded. I am sorry. He smiled faintly. Life teaches us in hard ways. The bus arrived and they boarded. The journey was long but calm. Mira watched the world pass by through the window. Each mile felt like distance from her old life. When they reached the city, her cousin welcomed her with surprise and concern. They listened to her story with shock and anger. You will stay with us, the cousin said firmly. As long as you need. Mira felt tears rise again. She thanked them. Aman prepared to leave. He stood near the door quietly. You saved my life, Mira said. Aman shook his head. You saved yourself. I only stood where I should. She looked at him closely. Will I see you again, she asked. He smiled. Perhaps. The world is smaller than it seems. They said goodbye. Days passed. Mira slowly adjusted to her new place. Her cousin helped her find therapy sessions and support groups. She met people who understood struggle and resilience. One afternoon a visitor arrived. It was Ravi. He looked tired and nervous. He stood outside unsure. Mira did not rush to speak. She waited. I made a mistake, Ravi said. I panicked. I was overwhelmed. Mira listened calmly. She felt no anger. Only distance. You did more than panic, she replied. You chose to leave. Ravi lowered his head. I was wrong. Mira took a breath. I will not return. But I forgive you for my peace. Ravi looked shocked. He expected anger or tears. He did not expect strength. He left quietly. That night Mira sat near the window and looked at the city lights. She thought of the forest. She thought of fear and of help arriving from shadows. She realized that her life had changed direction not because someone left but because someone stayed. And somewhere on a quiet road Aman continued his walks, unaware that the kindness he showed had built a future stronger than he would ever know. Life moved forward quietly after that meeting. Mira stayed with her cousin and slowly built a routine that gave her strength. Every morning she woke early and stretched carefully. Her body still carried pain, but it no longer felt like an enemy. With help and steady effort, she learned new ways to move and new ways to rest. Her cousin encouraged her to join a nearby support center. At first Mira felt nervous. She had spent too much time hiding her struggles. But on the first day she entered the center, she saw people like her. Some walked slowly. Some used support. Some carried sadness in their eyes. But many carried hope too. Mira began to attend sessions regularly. She listened to stories that felt close to her own. She spoke when she felt ready. Each time she shared, a weight lifted from her chest. She was no longer alone with her pain. Weeks passed and Mira grew stronger, not only in body but in mind. She learned basic computer skills through a small program offered at the center. She discovered she had patience and focus. Soon she began helping others who were new and scared. Her voice became calm and steady. Her words carried understanding. One afternoon a letter arrived for her. The name on the envelope made her pause. It was from Aman. She sat quietly and opened it slowly. His handwriting was neat and careful. He wrote about his walks, about the changing seasons, and about how he hoped she was safe. He did not ask for anything. He only said he was glad she found a place to heal. Mira held the letter close. A soft smile appeared on her face. She wrote back the same evening. She told him about the center, about learning new skills, and about how her life felt different now. She thanked him again for being there when it mattered most. Their letters became regular. They did not rush words. They shared thoughts and simple moments. Through ink and paper, a quiet bond grew. Meanwhile, Ravi's life moved in a very different direction. After leaving Mira, he thought his problems would disappear. Instead, they grew heavier. Guilt followed him everywhere. Sleep did not come easily. People around him noticed his restless nature and careless mistakes. At work, his focus slipped. He missed deadlines. He made poor choices. Slowly, his position weakened. The respect he once held faded. One day, his manager called him in and spoke firmly. Ravi was given a warning. Another mistake would cost him his job. Ravi walked home feeling empty. He thought of Mira often. He remembered her patience and quiet strength. He realized that he had mistaken her dependence for weakness. He saw too late that she was stronger than him. But regret does not always open closed doors. Back at the city, Mira received good news. The center offered her a small paid role helping manage schedules and guiding newcomers. It was not much money, but it was purpose. Mira accepted with gratitude. Each day she traveled with care and confidence. People began to recognize her smile. She felt useful. She felt seen. One evening as she returned home, her cousin told her someone was waiting. Aman stood near the doorway. For a moment Mira thought she was dreaming. Then he smiled and the moment became real. "You came," she said softly. Aman nodded. "I was nearby. I wanted to see how you were doing." Mira felt warmth rise in her chest. She invited him inside. They sat and talked for hours. They spoke of change and growth. They spoke of fear and courage. There was no rush and no pressure. Aman noticed how Mira moved with more ease. He noticed how her eyes carried confidence now. "You look different," he said. Mira smiled. "I feel different." Days later Aman visited again. They went to the support center together. Mira introduced him to her friends. Aman listened with respect and quiet pride. Their connection deepened naturally. It was built on trust and shared understanding. One afternoon Mira received a call from Ravi's workplace. He had been involved in a dispute and needed someone to contact. Mira listened calmly and declined involvement. She had closed that chapter. Her peace mattered more than revisiting pain. As time passed, Mira made a decision. She wanted to live independently. With her savings and support, she found a small apartment near the center. Moving day felt symbolic. She was stepping into her own space, her own life. Aman helped her move. He carried boxes and laughed softly at the simplicity of the task. When everything was settled, they stood near the window looking out at the city lights. "You built this life," Mira said quietly. Mira shook her head. "I learned to build after someone refused to hold me up." Aman understood. That night Mira sat alone in her new home. She felt calm. She felt complete. Far away, Ravi sat in silence. His choices had led him to loneliness. He understood now that abandoning responsibility only abandons oneself. And as Mira rested in her new beginning, she knew that the forest where she was left behind had not been an ending. It had been a doorway. Mira's new apartment felt small, but it felt like freedom. The rooms were simple. The walls were plain. Yet every corner carried peace because it belonged to her. She arranged her books on a shelf, placed a small plant near the window, and kept her walking stick beside the sofa. These were not signs of weakness to her anymore. They were signs of survival. The next morning she woke up early and opened the window. Cool air entered the room, and the city sounds rose gently from below. People were starting their day. Mira watched them and felt something she had not felt in a long time. She felt excited to live. At the support center, everyone noticed her glow. Her friends smiled and teased her kindly about having her own place. Mira laughed and told them she was still learning how to manage everything. She made mistakes, but she did not fear them. She had already faced much worse. Aman visited in the evenings when his work allowed. He never acted like he owned her time or her choices. He only showed up with care. Sometimes he brought fruit. Sometimes he brought a simple meal. Sometimes he brought nothing but quiet conversation. Mira liked that most of all. One evening Aman asked if she would join him for a short walk near the river. The path was smooth and friendly for her pace. Mira agreed. They walked slowly. The river reflected the lights from the streets and the sky looked soft with clouds. Mira held her stick with steady hands. Aman walked beside her, matching her rhythm. He did not rush her. After a while they stopped near a railing and looked at the water. "Do you ever think about that day?" Aman asked. Mira nodded. "I do. But it does not control me now." Aman looked at her. "It could have broken you." Mira smiled gently. "It tried. But it also showed me who I truly am." Aman's eyes softened. He seemed proud of her strength. Mira turned her gaze toward him. "I still wonder something," she said. "What?" Aman asked. "Why were you really there that morning? You told me you walked there to think. But it felt like you arrived at the exact moment I needed help." Aman took a slow breath. Then he spoke carefully. "That forest road is near my home village. Years ago my sister was treated unfairly by people who should have protected her. I could not change what happened then. I promised myself I would not ignore pain again when I see it. So I walk those roads sometimes, as if it keeps that promise alive." Mira listened with respect. She understood the quiet burden behind his words. "You kept your promise that day," she said. Aman nodded. As weeks passed, Mira continued to grow. She applied for a small online course and began learning more about organizing community programs. She discovered she loved helping people plan their goals. She had a sharp mind and a calm presence. The center director noticed her dedication and offered her more responsibility. Mira began leading small group sessions where people shared their struggles and their dreams. She guided them with kindness but also with truth. She reminded them that their worth was not measured by what they could do fast, but by what they refused to give up. One day a young woman arrived at the center, scared and silent. She sat alone in a corner. Mira recognized the look in her eyes. It was the same fear Mira once carried. Mira sat beside her and spoke gently. "You are safe here," she said. "Take your time." The young woman looked at her and tears formed. Mira did not push. She only stayed. Slowly the young woman started speaking. She shared her worries and her loneliness. Mira listened. She gave her a cup of water. She guided her to the right resources. By the end of the day the young woman smiled for the first time. Mira walked home that evening feeling full of purpose. She realized that the painful road she walked had become a path for others too. Then one afternoon, Mira received a message from her cousin. Ravi was asking for her again. Mira felt her stomach tighten, but not from fear. It was from a distant discomfort, like an old scar being touched. She did not want chaos near her new peace. But she also believed in closing doors with dignity. She agreed to meet Ravi in a public place near the market. Aman offered to come, but Mira asked him to wait nearby, not to interfere unless needed. Aman respected her choice. At the market cafe Ravi arrived looking thinner and older. His eyes carried stress. He sat across from Mira and avoided her gaze at first. Mira remained calm. She sat straight, her stick beside her chair. She looked at Ravi with steady eyes. "Why are you here?" she asked. Ravi swallowed. "I lost my job," he said. "I made mistakes. My life is falling apart. I do not know what to do. Mira listened without emotion. She had once carried his problems on her shoulders. She would not do that again. Ravi finally looked at her. I am sorry, he said. Every day I regret what I did. Mira took a slow breath. Regret is not the same as change, she replied. Ravi's eyes filled with desperation. Please help me. I have no one. Myra's heart did not soften into weakness. It softened into wisdom. I will not return to that life, she said. I will not become the person you can lean on after you pushed me away. But I can give you one thing. Ravi looked hopeful. Mira continued. I can tell you what you need to hear. You must take responsibility. You must face what you did. You must rebuild without using someone else. If you truly want change, start by becoming honest with yourself. Ravi sat still. He expected comfort. He received truth. Mira stood up slowly. She looked down at him. I forgive you for my peace. But I do not trust you. That is the cost of your choice. Ravi's shoulders dropped. He nodded weakly. Mira turned and walked away. Her steps were slow, but they were firm. Outside, Aman waited at a distance. When he saw her, he walked beside her quietly. Are you okay? He asked. Mira nodded. Yes. I feel lighter. They walked home together, the city lights glowing around them. Later that night, Mira sat in her apartment and wrote in a small notebook. She wrote about the forest. She wrote about the man who watched everything and chose to help. She wrote about pain turning into purpose. She looked out the window at the quiet streets and smiled. Mira understood now that the story was never only about being left behind. It was about standing up again, even when the ground was cold and the road felt endless. And somewhere in the distance, the forest remained silent, holding the memory of a cruel choice and the echo of a kinder one, as Mira moved forward into a life she had built with her own hands.